All right, so welcome to this video. Today's video is how AI agents actually remember things and why most people get this completely wrong. So I've been using my AI agent with OpenClaw since the end of January. And I did notice I think it would forget things, right? So I would teach it about myself, teach it about our goals, and then chat to it, and then it would be like I would share everything. I went to ChatGPT and I asked it to basically give me the entire history of who I am and what we're working on, because I use ChatGPT all the time before I started with OpenClaw. So I got this big document. I just fed it into my OpenClaw, and I didn't understand how memory worked. And I'm still learning about context windows. I'm a complete newbie, beginner, non-technical, just agency owner, right? Been in e-commerce for 10 years, but with this stuff, I'm new. But that's why I'm making this video. I want to share what I've learned so far, and actually the bot built this presentation. So all these slides you're seeing are just coded with OpenClaw. So this is pretty cool. Yeah, so I wanted to present this and share this with you guys. And so here's the problem. I hear this a lot, and I hear it on social videos and stuff. My AI has a bad memory, right? So, like I said, I've been running AI, my AI agent named Caleb, which is built on OpenClaw, as my COO for months. He pulls client data every morning, monitors A/B tests, builds lead lists, and without me explaining myself every single day. And so it's taken a lot of back and forth to get here. And again, that's why I'm making this video, to share that kind of learning here. But first, how this actually works. So like a complete beginner who's just getting started in OpenClaw, how does it actually work? So let's get into that. So your AI agent has two types of memory. So short-term memory and long-term memory. And as I was learning about this, I thought, it's a lot how we remember things, right? We have our short-term, what happened today, but we would probably maybe today and last night, right? Or some short-term memory is really bad. Like I have to think hard to remember what I had for, lunch 3 days ago. But that's like short-term. And then long-term is like years, right? For us. A similar thing here, like short-term is the conversation window. So everything's visible right now. And when it fills up, then it gets wiped. So this is what I learned recently. It's a context window. So these different models have different context windows. So like I think Sonnet 4.6 has like 200,000 tokens, right? So just today I was asking it how much it's using up, and it's like 80%, 89% used. I have something like 170,000 tokens used or something like that. And basically what I learned is like, it's kind of like if you don't have, or if you don't clear the context and you keep all that context throughout the day, it's kind of like your AI has to like think about, and it only has like 20% or less space, right, to do things, to remember certain things for their like short-term memory, to get things done, to be effective. And I kind of thought it's kind of like when you pull all-nighters and you don't give your brain a chance to sleep and rest and like store memories and stuff like that, and you just like the next day you feel like super like zoned out or foggy. I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. Like if your context window is too full and you don't clean it or compact it, like for us, we don't go to sleep, spend 6-8 hours like storing memories and compacting everything, cleaning everything up in the brain, and we feel like foggy, right? Or we feel like we can't function. We're definitely not at our best, right? So I think that kind of clicked for me recently with these bots, is like that context window idea. And then of course they have long-term memory. So it taught me the concept of like this whiteboard. So has these things, boom, 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 boom. And then the oldest stuff just gets kind of wiped from the whiteboard, right? Old content gets erased. So that's called compaction. All right, memory type number 2, employee handbook. So your agent reads these files before every session, like an employee reading their handbook before every shift. So this is, I think, specifically OpenClaw, but they have USER.md, which is who I am, my business, how I think, and you. And then MEMORY.md is like key decisions, protocols, ongoing context that it needs to remember. This is where they say the memory's good and this thing like doesn't forget, is because it has this memory file that it loads up at every new session. It reads this entire thing. So if your MEMORY.md is like super huge, you're going to fill up your context window like as soon as you start your session. And then SOUL.md, personality, communication style, values. This is where you can like make it fun or quirky or like, you know, cold and direct to the point. So that's SOUL.md. And then HEARTBEAT.md. So this is like, you can have every 30 minutes, every 5 minutes, every hour, and it kind of wakes up and kind of asks itself like, okay, what should I do? So in the heartbeat file, you can say like, you know, check this, check this, check this. It's basically like, you can set up a recurring heartbeat. So it like wakes up, it reads the heartbeat file, and then it takes action, checks an account or something, or checks for replies in email, or, you know, pulls some data, I don't know, checks to make sure the system's okay. Whatever you want in the HEARTBEAT.md. So that's that. And why it matters. So tool versus Coworker. So without files, you open the chat, explain who you are, explain your business, explain what you need, get a decent answer, you close the tab, and then tomorrow you do it all again. Same context, same waste of time every single day. So this is why, like, before ChatGPT had memory, like this is kind of what was happening, right? Like we would use these tools, we would give it context inside of that window, and then get some output from it, and that was cool. And then we would start a new window, or like the next day, it wouldn't remember anything that we had said. So that's not that helpful, right? So the Coworkers with files. So Caleb runs at 8 a.m., pulls A/B test data from Convert, formats the report, posts to Slack all before coffee, and I don't have to explain to him again, like that's what I want. And I don't have to explain the format that I want these reports in, or like I don't have to tell him or explain to him how to pull A/B tests from Convert. Like he has that all stored. So he knows the clients, he knows the format, he knows not to message me unless something needs my attention. He was sending me a bunch of messages, so I made sure to fix that. The difference between a tool and a coworker is whether they know you. The files are how you teach them. Pretty cool. So another breakdown of each file. So user.md, like when you set up your OpenClaw, this is what you give, the information that you give. So your name, you know, your business, how I think, dislikes, likes, output style that you want, your North Star that you're trying to achieve. The more specific, the better. What I would say with these is I've learned that if it's a specific bot and you're spinning it up to accomplish a specific task, like you have a specific YouTube agent that you want to launch and its only purpose is to make good YouTube videos or something like that, it doesn't really need to know like that much about you, like your whole life story or anything like that. It just needs to know your name, business, goals, and like what its goal is and like how you want it to work. I think this is where I got messed up in the beginning, is I dropped in a big file, like huge, like multiple pages, I think 11 pages or something like that. And it took all that and like built out a very thorough user profile on me. And then it ate a bunch of context. And then memory. So this is like long-term memory that's stored. So standing rules, active projects, key decisions, those get stored in memory.md. So every key decision goes here, and then your agent should be updating this regularly, and then tell it to, yeah. So with a lot of these things, like whenever I hear something on a YouTube video, I just, you know, tell it to do the thing that the video said, or I like download the video as a skill and give it to my AI bot. And it usually, like, this is the crazy part, it actually does it. It's awesome. There's that. And then soul.md. So how to communicate, be resourceful before asking, read the file first, have opinions, disagree if you disagree, All right, this is where you get that personality, which is really fun to work with instead of just like a robotic thing. I like this piece. I think this is an interesting piece with OpenClaw that I've never experienced before. And I think it's so cool and so interesting. So this single file eliminated hundreds of unnecessary back and forth messages. Yeah, so it's like, don't send me a bunch of updates. Don't say like, great question, or like nice, or like be too polite and stuff like that. It's like just straight to the point, right? If that's what you want. Or you can go completely opposite if that's what you want. And then this is something that I picked up during the initial setup of my OpenClaw, but it's called the second brain. And so what this does is every day we log memory into daily memory files. So it looks something like this, where the memory for March 1st, what we built, decided, and learned on March 1st. And then the memory for March 2nd, like today's sessions, decisions, blockers, next steps. So now I have in my workspace just every single day a memory file for that day. So instead of having to store it all in one big memory.md file, right, and then load that every time a session starts, I can have that memory file be just like the high-level bullet point summary of like an overview. And then each day can be logged. And then whenever I ask it something or it needs to like recall some memory, it can actually search these .md files. And so they're stored separately in a separate place, and they're only searched when needed, right? So they're not loaded on every session. They're only searched when they need it, which helps performance a lot. This is like super huge. I'm glad that I set this up. I would recommend everybody who's setting up an OpenClaw to set up a second brain. And then I think how I did it was like, there's a book called something Second Brain. I forget who's the author, but basically I found that ebook, downloaded that ebook onto my computer, and then told my OpenClaw bot to read that ebook, understand it, and then deploy like the framework from that book to our system and how we're operating. And then there was also like a tweet. I've totally lost it now, but there was a tweet, and I, again, same thing, got the URL for that tweet, put it into my OpenClaw, and then it read the entire tweet and adjusted our setup and how we run things based on that as well. But that's how like simple this setup, and that's why it works for me. Like someone who's not super techie. I love numbers and spreadsheets and everything like that, and I love analyzing data. But the coding side, like I'm not super big on coding, right? I think a lot of people who are getting into this aren't super big on coding anyway. So it can search weeks of history to find a decision you made, number you mentioned, or a rule you set, even if you forgot you said it. Yeah. So I think as we continue working together, like as the months go on, this is going to become more and more valuable, and I'm excited for that. Yeah, always write it down. So the one habit. So you have a work session, you say save that, it gets saved to a file, and then the agent knows tomorrow. So similar thing with the memory system that we're doing every single day. So write that to memory or update memory.md. Instead of doing this, we have the second brain that's going on. So once you set up the second brain system and your agent understands that, okay, at the end of the day, end of the session, when we compact the context or end the session, like I'm going to create a memory log, and it's been working. So that's been good. All right, context window tricks. Keep sessions shorter. Don't run one 10-hour conversation. Start fresh sessions for different tasks. Less context waste, sharper responses. So I honestly can be way better at this. Let's zoom in here. I can be way better at this. Yeah, I often am like scatterbrained, right? I'm like, I have this idea here, I shoot off a message, and then I have an idea here while I'm listening to a podcast, and I shoot off another message. And so I'm exploring different ways to split my ideas and stuff between different AI agents. So like I'm testing out Manus AI. So the Manus agent has been really good. In Manus, it like spawns its own computer for every single request, and in its own like sandbox environment. but it also has skills that it can call on, and the UI is really good. So I've been liking playing with Manus, and then of course OpenClaw, and then I'm constantly looking for more stuff to test. Front load your files. The more context in the files, the less you need to explain in conversation, which saves window space for actual work, right? So I'm getting better also at like creating skills.md files and like .md files for like context and information and stuff like that. So that's what you should do. So as you practice and as you set up your bot and work with it, this will make more sense. And you'll need to explain what's going on less and less and less, I think, as it keeps going. And then end of session notes. Before closing a big work session, say, update memory.md with what we decided today. This is how decisions survive resets. So again, for our system, my system, I don't update memory.md with everything. Again, we create that memory file for that one day. And then any big things that we decide can go into the memory.md. Zoom out. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense, right, guys? Short-term memory, long-term memory, set up files, keep them updated, treat them like your agent's employee handbook. That's when the AI stops being a tool and becomes a coworker. So that's it. Subscribe if you want to build AI systems that scale revenue. That's my focus. I'm so excited about it. So if you're building AI agents for your business or you want to, subscribe to the YouTube. I'll be posting more content like this. And then, yeah, drop a comment if you have any questions about setting up AI agents, setting up OpenClaw, setting up Manus, and especially if you have a Shopify store or you're running DTC brands, like that's what I'm building for right now. So we can jam out. I have tons of different agents. Like I built an SEO, AEO agent that researches stuff. I'll have to make a video on it, but it researches SEMrush and pulls in all competitor keywords, writes post, goes through a checklist and automatically posts it with backlinks, crosslinks. It's just been amazing. So if you want to jam out about that stuff, send me a message on Instagram, and yeah, talk to you guys later. Bye.